Tonight, we find ourselves in the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan on a moonless night. Every flame in the city has been extinguished. In total darkness, robed priests and anxious citizens gaze upward. High above, a small cluster of stars, the Pleiades, creeps towards the zenith. This is the new fire ceremony, an event that comes once every 52 years. If those stars reach the midnight sky's apex, it means life will continue as usual. But if they fail to appear at the appointed time, the Aztecs believed the world could end in chaos. In that dreadful scenario, skeletal star demons known as Huitzilopochtli would descend from the heavens to devour the unwary. As the others gaze upward in anticipation, we watch, knowing that thankfully the stars always did appear on cue. And when they did, the priests would light a new flame, and the relieved citizens would celebrate the dawn of another 52-year cycle. For the Aztecs, astronomy wasn't just stargazing for curiosity's sake. It was a matter of cosmic survival. In this video, we'll explore how the Aztec civilization used the stars and the planets in every facet of life, from crafting complex calendars and timing harvests to aligning their grand temples with celestial events. We'll see how astronomy and mythology were inseparably woven together in Aztec culture. So, let's journey back to ancient Mexico and find out how the Aztecs skywatched their way through history. The Aztecs inherited and refined a rich tradition of astronomy and timekeeping from earlier Mesoamerican cultures. They viewed the world as a flat disk organized into 5 cardinal directions: north, south, east, west, and center, with Tenochtitlan sitting at the sacred center. Stacking above and below this earthly plane were layers of the cosmos, 13 heavens above and 9 underworld levels below, each realm populated by different gods. To the Aztecs, their city of Tenochtitlan was literally the center of the universe, a meeting point of heaven and earth. Time itself was cyclical and tied to these cosmic layers and direction. They believed creation had passed through multiple eras, or suns, before their own, with each era ending in catastrophe. The current era, the 5th sun, would eventually end in a cataclysmic earthquake, but when that end might come could be influenced by keeping the cosmic order through rituals. To track the rhythms of nature and please the gods, the Aztecs developed precise calendars. In fact, they used 2 calendars simultaneously, one being a 365-day solar calendar called the Xiuhpuali, used for agriculture and civil events. The other was a 260-day sacred calendar called the Tonopawali, mainly used for ritual. Every date carried dual designation, one in each calendar, like 2 intermeshing gears. Because 260 and 365 have a least common multiple of 18,980, these 2 gears realign to the same starting point once every 52 years. So this 52-year period was essentially the Aztec century, and it carried significance as the span of a full cosmic cycle. Day to day, these calendars guided almost everything. Priests consulted the sacred 260-day cycle to pick auspicious dates for planting crops, building houses, conducting ceremonies, inaugurating kings, even declaring war. Nothing was done without checking if the stars and gods smiled on that day. The 260-day cycle was divided into 20-day signs and 13 numbered, creating 260 unique combinations. Each day sign was associated with particular deities and omens, a bit like an Aztec zodiac. For example, a day might be ruled by Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god, or Tolak, the rain god, and that influence could sway whether the day was deemed favorable or dangerous. The Aztecs even believed a person's birthday influenced their personality and fate, an astrological approach not so different from how horoscopes are used today. In essence, the calendars were a way to bring order to nature's cycle. They reflected the Aztec belief that time itself had a sacred pattern, one that humans must align with to avoid disaster. So how did the Aztecs keep these calendars accurate over the years? After all, a solar year is slightly longer than 365 days. Interestingly, Aztec astronomer priests did not use leap days as we do. Instead, they looked to the stars, in particular, the Pleiades constellation, to calibrate their calendar. The Pleiades passed directly overhead in central Mexico, so they served as a convenient celestial marker. Aztec observers noted that over time, The night when the Pleiades crossed the zenith of midnight would slowly drift through the seasons if they didn't account for that quarter-day discrepancy each year. So, to resync the calendar, priests watched the position of the Pleiades at key times of the year. Essentially, the stars told them when their 365-day count was slipping out of alignment with the true solar year. The movements of the Pleiades also acted as seasonal signposts. When this star cluster vanished from the night sky, which occurs naturally when Pleiades' position aligns with the sun, the Aztecs knew the dry season was ending and the rainy season was imminent, usually around late April. Conversely, when the Pleiades reappeared in the night sky months later, it marked the coming of the dry season in November. It wasn't only the Pleiades. The Aztecs carefully observed the motions of many celestial bodies. They noted the paths of the sun and moon across the sky and the timing of eclipses. For instance, an eclipse in the sun of broad daylight was a terrifying omen. They imagined the giant jaguar swallowing the sun, or the dreaded Tsitzimime attacking it. During eclipses, people would shout and clash spears, trying to scare away whatever demon was eating the sun. Clearly, the Aztecs were paying close attention to these cosmic events. They recorded them in their codices and interpreted their meaning. By tracking patterns, say the regular cycle of eclipses or the seasonal rising of certain stars, Aztec astronomers started to recognize that nature had a reliable order to it. This idea that the heavens were predictable and order was deeply encouraging. It suggested that by understanding the skies, one could glimpse the gods' plan and keep the world running correctly. No event or ritual showcases the Aztec interplay of astronomy, timekeeping, and religion better than the new fire ceremony. As mentioned in the introduction, this ritual took place at the end of each 52-year calendar round. To the Aztecs, such a moment was both hopeful and terrifying. It was like the universe's reset button. If the proper rituals weren't done, time itself might stop. As the final day of the 52nd year approached, all fires across the Aztec domain were extinguished. Imagine the entire city of Tenochtitlan at night, normally aglow with thousands of cooking fires and torches, now completely dark. People destroyed their furniture and pottery as offering, and no flame burned anywhere, a symbolic end to the old cycle. Then, on a hill outside the city, a group of chosen priests performed the critical observance. According to accounts, they watched the night sky intently until midnight. At that moment, if the cluster of the Pleiades was seen directly overhead, it was the signal moment, but the cosmos would continue on. A collective sigh of relief would sweep through the watchers. The gods had granted the world another cycle of 52 years. But the ceremony was far from over. Once the Pleiades crossed the meridian safely, the priests got to work kindling a new fire, in a most dramatic way possible. They took a captive warrior, often a brave and high-status enemy soldier, and laid him on a stone altar. Using a traditional fire drill made of sticks, they ignited a flame right in the open cavity of his chest, after ritually sacrificing him and removing his heart. It was gruesome, but powerfully symbolic. The new fire, born in a human chest, was as if a new sun was being born, a renewal of life for the next 52 years. Immediately, signal bonfires on surrounding hills were lit from this flame. Runners carried torches to every neighborhood and distant town so they could rekindle their hearts from the sacred new fire. Across the valley, people cheered, danced, and offered blood sacrifices of gratitude. The message was clear. The old era was gone, and the new era had officially begun. Astronomy for the Aztecs, quite obviously, was never purely about science. It was entangled with mythology and divine drama. The Aztecs saw their gods' stories written in the stars. For example, one popular Aztec legend recounts how the sun god, Huitzilopochtli, was born and immediately had to battle his own siblings, his sister, Huitzilopochtli, and his 400 brothers, the stars of the southern sky. Huitzilopochtli defeated them, slicing off Huitzilopochtli's head, which became the moon, and casting his brothers into the sky to become distant stars. This myth vividly explains why the moon and stars must give way to the sun each day. It's a cosmic sibling rivalry, replayed every sunrise. It also underscores a belief that the sun needs strength to prevail, strength that the Aztecs felt they must provide through offerings and through blood. When the Aztecs performed sacrifices to feed the sun with human hearts, they were, in their mind, actively helping Huitzilopochtli fight off the darkness every day. The planet Venus also features prominently in Aztec beliefs. The Aztecs were keen observers of Venus, which is the brightest object in the sky after the sun and the moon, and they know it appears alternatively as the morning star and the evening star. They tied it to the feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl. Venus had a dual nature. They could be a beacon of hope or a harbinger of doom. Aztec warriors, for instance, watched for Venus at dawn and took its presence as a sign from the gods. Some accounts say they saw the morning star rising as a favorable omen before going into battle. Perhaps the shining planet gave them confidence that the gods of war were on their side. On the other hand, the heliacal rise of Venus, or the first time Venus becomes visible in the east after a period of absence, filled the Aztecs with dread. One Spanish friar noted that when Venus reappeared as the morning star after its roughly 584-day cycle, the Aztecs believed it foretold calamity, drought, famine, or even war. One Aztec chronicle describes people clapping their hands over their mouths in fear at sight of the star. To brace for this, Aztec priests actually calculated Venus's cycles and predicted its future rising dates, so the society could prepare with ceremonies and with prayers. Over time, Venus came to symbolize death and rebirth in Aztec ideology. It died or disappeared for several days, and then was reborn as the morning star, a cycle that mirrored the Aztecs' belief in renewal after destruction. It wasn't only in stories and calendars that astronomy mattered. It was literally built into the Aztec cities and their monument. The layout of Tenochtitlan and its sacred precinct was designed with cosmic order in mind. The city's main avenues ran nearly north to south and east to west, echoing the sacred direction. Major temples and pyramids were oriented to mark celestial events on the horizon. Aztec architects used horizontal line astronomy, aligning structures with where celestial bodies rise or set along the horizon. In this way, buildings on Earth were deliberately matched to the stars in the sky. This belief was that by mirroring the heavens, they could create harmony between human and divine realms. A striking example of this is the Aztecs' Templo Mayor, or the Great Temple, in Tenochtitlan, the twin pyramid temple dedicated to Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc, the rain god. This temple was not aligned exactly to the cardinal east-west. Instead, it was offset a few degrees. Modern archaeoastronomy studies have found that the Templo Mayor's central axis points towards the point on the western horizon where the sun sets on two specific dates, roughly 73 days before and 73 days after the summer solstice. In other words, if you stood facing the temple on those dates, you'd see the sun setting right over its center. Those 73-day intervals are not random. 73 is a key number in the Aztec sacred calendar, since 73 times 5 is 365 days, and 73 is also the number of 260-day cycles that happen in a 52-year span. By aligning the temple with these significant sunset dates, the Aztecs effectively built their calendar into the city's architecture. The Aztecs weren't the first Mesoamerican people to align buildings with the heavens. They were drawing on a long tradition from the Maya, who, for example, did this with many of their pyramids, but that's a story for another video. From the rooftops of their temples, Aztec priests watched planets and constellations with a mix of scientific curiosity and sacred awe. This blend of astronomy and theology guided an empire. The Aztecs believed their very existence depended on pleasing the cosmic forces that lived in the sky. And in a poetic way, they were right. Their careful observations of celestial cycles did ensure bountiful harvests, helped schedule rituals, and kept their society unified under a shared cosmic vision. The night sky was their textbook and their Bible in one, teaching them about time, seasons, and the whims of the gods. The story of Aztec astronomy is a reminder that science and culture can be deeply intertwined. While they didn't have telescopes, the Aztecs achieved a remarkably accurate understanding of celestial cycles through naked eye observation and record keeping. They knew the schedule of Venus, the drift at the Pleiades, and the turning of the sun's path throughout the year. Their predictions weren't perfect by modern standards, but they were good enough to build confidence the universe had an order, and that humans had a role in maintaining it. At the same time, the Aztecs never separated the wonder of the cosmos from the world of the gods. Looking up at the stars, they saw not just balls of plasma or distant suns, but the marketplaces of the heaven, divine serpents, heroic hummingbirds, and watchful demon. This imaginative, playful outlook gave their astronomy a unique character. It made the cold pinpricks of light feel alive with meaning. The next time you glance up at the stars, remember the Aztecs. an entire civilization that once looked at those same stars and saw their destiny written in the sparkling dots of light. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe to Stellar Quest for more videos just like this one every week. We're looking forward to seeing you around.